maybe we could start our discussion of sexual differences in mating strategy with that. So first of all, what's the evidence that suggests that women are in fact choosier when it comes to sexual partners than men, and how much choosier are they?
Okay, great question. Well, so maybe first we could just define for listeners what sexual selection theory is, because most people, when they think about evolution, they think of survival of the fittest and that sort of nature redding tooth and claw kind
Yes,
of
and a
thing.
kind of a randomness too,
This will be
which
very interesting.
that's kind of implicit in the natural selection theory, whereas sexual selection is anything but random.
Yeah, absolutely. So sexual selection. So if natural selection, this is oversimplified, but is the evolution of adaptations due to their survival advantage, or the survival advantage that accrued to the possessors. So things like fear of snakes, fear of heights, spiders, darkness, strangers, and so forth, food preferences, things that led to better survival. Sexual selection deals with the evolution of qualities that lead to mating success. And Darwin identified two causal processes by which mating success could occur. One is same-sex competition or intrasexual competition. And the logic there is that whatever, he thought about it in terms of contest competition, where there was a physical battle, like two stags locking horns in combat, with the victor gaining sexual access to the female, loser ambling off with a broken antler, dejected with low self-esteem and probably needing some psychotherapy. But the logic was whatever qualities led to success in these same-sex battles, whether it be athleticism, strength, agility, cunning, or whatever, those qualities got passed on in greater numbers due to the sexual access that the victors accrued. Qualities associated with losing basically bit the evolutionary dust. The second component, so that's intrasexual competition, which actually the logic is more general than Darwin envisioned. So like in our species, as we were alluding to, we often compete for position and status hierarchies. And so we can engage in intrasexual competition without engaging in this physical battle or contest competition.
That means sports and other things.
The contest competition is also
sport, music, all these things that where you can really excel, right? Anything that is excel related. I think it does give you that status. It does give you that status. It can give you an opportunity to have a lot of resources, including if you're a male, a lot of females.
Part of human evolutionary history with males. The other component process is basically what Darwin called female choice. And the logic there is that whatever qualities, if there's some consensus about the qualities that are desired, that men possessing the desired qualities have a mating advantage. They get preferentially chosen. Those lacking the desired qualities basically become incels or involuntarily celibate. They get shunned, banished, or ignored. Now, the twist on that, and so I think sexual selection is by far a more interesting process and definitely has occurred with respect to humans. But the twist there is that we have mutual mate choice, at least when it comes to long-term mating, especially when it comes to long-term mating. And that gets to the issue of Trevor's theory of parental investment, where he asked the question, well, which sex does the choosing, which sex does the competing? His answer was the sex that invests more in offspring tends to be choosier. Sex that invests less tends to be more competitive for access to those desirable members of the opposite sex. But in long-term mating, now we know from our reproductive biology that women have that 9-month pregnancy, which is obligatory. So women can't say, look, I'm really busy with my career. I really only want to put in 3 months. It's just part of our reproductive biology to produce one child. And men can produce that same child through one act of sex. And so women are, at least when it comes to sex, the choosier sex, the higher investing sex, in part because the costs of making a bad mating decision are much more severe for women than for men. Man and woman hook up, have sex for one night. In the morning, they both realize, oh, this is a mistake. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Well, if the woman gets pregnant, then she might be pregnant with a guy who is not going to invest in her offspring. A guy perhaps is
Okay, is that good or bad? That's what I want to know. Is that a good or bad? Is there a reason? Is that help society? Because she making that choice, because she can select the mate. She can select, where am I looking here? Here, I don't know. She can select the mate that will give her the opportunity of passing the genes, right? She select that guy. The guy cannot say yes without her consent. I want to get to that detail. That detail. And how is that even change post feminism?
someone that has poor genetic material, it does not have a robust immune system, etc. So, so anyway, so that's a long-winded answer to your question about sexual selection.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that you asked about the evidence for females being choosier, and they are choosier primarily in the context of casual sex or short-term sex. So that's where you find the big sex differences. And so one of the classic, and there's a ton of evidence for this. This is a sex difference that I capture in the book under the category of desire for sexual variety.
Okay.
So men have a much greater desire for, meaning a variety of sex partners, than women do. And so the choosiness comes in on. I'll just give you.
And what's the reason behind that? Why the man has a greater urge to have different mates? What is it that really drives him to do so? Okay, what's the real what's the reason? Of course, to spread the seeds, but what's the reason besides spreading the seed?
One experiment. This is a classic study done by Elaine Hatfield and Russell Clark, where they had male and female Confederates, which for listeners are members of the experimental team. It doesn't mean people from the South United States.
You got me there. I was thinking the same
male
thing.
And female Confederates simply walk up to members of the opposite sex on a college campus and say, "Hi, I've been noticing you around campus lately. I find you very attractive. Would you," and they asked them one of three questions: would you go on a date with me tonight? Would you come back to my apartment with me? Would you have sex with me? And it was a between groups design. So they simply recorded the percentage of individuals who agreed to these
This is interesting.
three different requests. And of the women, about half, about a little over 50% agreed to go out on a date with the guy. 6% agreed to go back to his apartment. 0% agreed to have sex with him.
Wow.
Most women need a little more information about the guy before they're willing to have sex.
That is interesting.
Of the men approach, also about 50 by the female Confederate, about 50% agreed to go out on the date. 69.
I don't know. That makes no sense. If you're a female and you're inviting a guy, 50%, nah, man, there's something not right here. Those that have done pickup artists and they have done they have done the homework to go outside and do pickup. You know it's not 50%. You know 100% it's not 50%. I'm sorry, it's not 50% unless you have a higher skill. I would check those data.
9% agreed to go back to her apartment, and 75% agreed to have sex with her. And so, if you talk about choosiness, are you willing to have sex with a total stranger who you've met for 30 seconds?
Those stats has to be with the guy inviting the girls, because it makes sense. If the girl was inviting the guys, you will get 100 higher percentage. But if the guy is inviting the girl, you're gonna have almost 0% closing. I mean, it was a 0% closing. I was giving at least 1% closing, but he gave you 0. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I might just missed it.
Women unwilling to, and in general, men very willing to. And this is a study
Okay,
that's been
so that's what it
replicated
was.
now
Yeah,
in several European studies. Very difficult
I
to do
might,
this,
I
as
might
you
just
might
missed it.
imagine, to get this by the IRBs or ethics committees in the United States anyway. I assume it's similar in Canada.
Or
but
worse.
or worse so. But yeah, the kinds of studies we really want to do are more difficult to do nowadays. But
Yeah,
it's been replicated in several Western European countries, and you can get women off of the 0%. You can get a few percent of the women saying yes if the
yeah.
guy's really, really
There we
charming.
go. See, that's what I'm saying. There we go. See, yeah. So I might just listen it wrong. If you have your game up a little bit high, you might get 1 or 2%. If you invite 100 females, right? From those 100 females, you get 50 of those that go to a date with you, right? And from those 50, if you have a good game, you might get 10% of those, 10 to 15% of those. But you have no game, you might get 0 or 1%. You have to, as male, this is all about an average calculation, right? So it's like a sale. You have to just do constant action with constant correction. Make sure you get that funnel through. Now it makes sense.
If he's Brad Pitt or I don't know what the
Yeah, high
modern
percentage.
equivalent's,
Yeah,
Ryan Gosling, which is one of the or perhaps a famous rock star. But that's one illustration of the answer to your question
pickup artists
about,
just
well, what is the
they
evidence for female choosiness?
they figure out
And
this
the
years
interesting
ago.
thing,
Years
here's,
ago.
I'll give you one more.
Uh,
So there are
late
studies
late
that ask, what is the
late
minimum
90s.
percentile of
They're
intelligence
behind.
that you would accept in a potential partner? So, we explain percentiles to people so they understand 99th percentile, first percentile, 50th, and so forth. And basically, for things like a marriage partner, men and women are roughly equal. They both are very exact. And they say what they want, like say 65th, 70th percentile in intelligence. Where the sex difference comes up is just a sex partner, a pure sex partner with no investment. Women still maintain, they still want, let's say, 60th or 60 plus percentile in intelligence,
Huh.
whereas men drop, to embarrass.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, there's a movie, Disney movie, which I'm not a fan of Disney, but just to give you like an example, it's about the Chinese girl. How I forgot her name. It's not Pocahontas. It's I forgot her name. They make a new movie about her a couple months ago, and there's a scene about she asking the guys because she dressed herself like to be a guy, and she asked the guy, "Do you want a very smart female?" And they would look at each other like, "Nah, we don't want that. We don't want no intelligence." I'm not saying that's the best thing, right? I'm just saying naturally, guys don't really want a very Einstein girl, right? They don't want that because it's not attractive to us. You want someone that has common sense, but not Einstein brilliant or very intelligent, right? It's not about that. It's just that naturally we're just attracted to femininity. Femininity, good fitness. That way you can show you can carry a baby, and strong nurture and support traits. That's pretty much. Outside of that, it's just a bonus, but it's not what we like looking for. Let me know if I'm wrong in the
Doesn't
comment
really,
section
it
below if you
becomes
disagree.
irrelevant. The 35th, 40th percentile men go, if she can mumble a little bit, that's fine, or even not.
See, I told you.
So
It's
that's
funny,
another
but I told you.
indication of female choosiness. That is, they maintain greater choosiness when it comes to short-term sex, and are simply less comfortable with having sex with total strangers or casual sex. And I'll give you one more now that I'm rambling on, and then I'll get to some other interesting issues. This is an item on the sociosexuality inventory that colleagues Steve Gangestad and Jeff Simpson developed a long time ago. But one of the items that's an attitude item, and it says, "Sex without love is okay." Do you agree with that?
Sex
or
without
disagree
love
with
is
that?
okay.
And there you get a large sex
I mean,
difference.
we have to
So
define
in the
what's love
7-point
again.
scale, where 4 is the midpoint, men average about 5.5. So they say, yeah, sex without love, yeah, that's okay. women are about 3.5. Okay, they're below that midpoint. It's another indication of this sex difference in choosiness.
Do you know if that's modulated by Big Five trait agreeableness?
Oh, that's a great question. I haven't seen any studies that link that.
Okay.
Big Five to that item, or the sociosexuality inventory in general.
Yeah, well, you'd wonder why, if compassion and empathy might be one of the things driving that, and the value that's placed on that as a consequence of being high or low in agreeableness. And that would fit in to some degree with the dark triad work, that because the primary difference there is, we'll talk about the dark triad in a minute, is that the dark triad types are low in agreeableness centrally. It's not the only thing, but that's central.
Yes.
So, and that's where there's a big sex difference.
Oh, damn it.
Maybe
Okay.
we could start.
Okay, so interesting. I like these topics. This is very good. These can understand really the social dynamics and what is going on in today's world, especially in the politics. My question is, because the answer of the feminism is that if that disturbed the nature of the female, putting them in a position where they really don't want to do certain things because it's not in their nature. Now, because of that, they might be compromising certain traits that might not help them at all. I think females tend to just select the higher resourceful and stronger gene in the male. Right, so you have the 1%. The 1% might have access to all the 98% of the girls, and one girl can have access to 90% of the guys. Right, one girl, which is now 1%. She could be bottom 98%. She might have still access to all the guys, because guys are more aware of where we can just plant seeds because we don't want to cut our genes. Right? And because of the masculation of the man, a lot of genes are being cut it down, and the universe is saying bye-bye. That's my opinion, of course. But this is very important. Manafee, Red Pill, all these things, plus Jordan Peterson, Johnny Depp, it's all coming together in one form, right? It's all a little battle, proxy wars happening right now. A lot of proxy wars. These proxy wars will determine in a couple of years where we stand. The United States, of course, as a nation, and then how we can influence the world after that. Let me know what you think. You guys agree with this study? Was very interesting, or you guys don't agree with them? Just let me know in the comment section below.